In August of 2021, my father passed away unexpectedly. This is a photo of him I found in the garage. I keep it on the wall in here now. In this video I make his urn. I'll explain what I'm doing with text on the screen, but mostly I'm going to talk about my dad in the voiceover here. This garage was his. Most of the tools in here were his too. Most of the tools that were mine, he gave to me. If you ask people what my dad was, most people would have said something like general contractor or maybe carpenter, and he certainly was those things. He made his money doing renovations, building houses, custom cabinets and woodworking. He was a master at those sort of things. But he was also more than that. He really seemed like he could do anything. He was a mechanic, an electrician, a legal advisor, and on and on. If you had a problem, he had a solution, and it was usually a good one. You might notice that I'm describing him in terms of his physical utility to other people. I'm not trying to be reductive. That's largely how he lived his life. I think he derived a lot of his personal meaning and fulfillment from being skilled and using those skills to help other people. I understand this about him probably better than anyone. I take after him a lot in that way. We didn't have a lot in common, but this particular pathology is definitely something we share. I'm definitely not as skilled as he was, but most of what I know about working with my hands I either learned from him directly, or he encouraged me and gave me the resources to learn it. There was one time when I was 12 or 13 years old, I was obsessed with Lord of the Rings, and I tried to forge a sword out of a pipe using our fire pit, a framing hammer, and a log as an anvil, which is just embarrassing. Instead of saying anything, making fun of me, or anything like that, a few days later he just bought me an anvil and a metalworking hammer. That's the kind of man he was. When my sister bought her house, he took something like a month off work just to go do renovations for her. He was so proud and wanted to make her home so special. He wasn't the kind of person to shower you with affection or even kind words. He wouldn't say mean things, but he wasn't the person to give out a lot of compliments and stuff like that. But this was his love language. He was the kind of person who wanted to do something for you, and that's how he would show his appreciation for you. He was a patient and gentle man. I've never seen him respond with any kind of physical aggression, and he rarely even raised his voice. He once caught some thieves stealing all his tools. From his job site. And just to be clear, he's a one-man operation. His tools are his livelihood. If he had lost all those tools, we would be devastated. In the most dad move ever, he just sternly instructed them to put everything back. And then once they did, he sent them on their way. The Charger I've been working on wasn't some project car. He bought it as a teenager. It was his only car for years. And I believe he was the second owner ever. He had wanted to restore it and gift it to me when I became an adult. But due to circumstances in our lives, when I was a teenager, he had to park it at a friend's farm, and it sat there for almost 20 years. It's something that really bothered him, and we were talking about restoring it before he died. We were going to restore it together. He didn't want a funeral, and we honored that wish when he died. I was able to call in some favors at the hospital, so I was the one who collected him from his hospital bed and transported him to the morgue. This is not something hospitals would normally allow, for very good reasons. They don't want people who are overly emotional in a secure area. But I'm glad I was in a position where I was able to ask for that. Most people would see this as a strange thing to want to do. But to me, it was the only way to be his pallbearer, and it definitely helped me get some closure. My mom and I looked at some urns initially, but nothing seemed right, and I felt something handmade is the only appropriate thing for my dad.